Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody, Militiaman and Crew, it's Friday, and Ophelia decided to come over and say hello to everybody, and she's probably going to be mad because I just showed her off, but hey, we'll see how long she lasts. Hey, being it's Friday afternoon, a lot of things have been going on. Militiaman and Crew have really had a lot of information. Our dear Samson has been phenomenal when it brings the news to us. She stuffs our Discord chat room full of information on a daily basis. I may not go over everything specifically, but in our Militiaman and Crew forum, I do get to a lot of different things. And I want to thank everybody that's a member because they give back input. And then in our Discord chat room, it's even more to the point, analytically, to be fair. But the fact remains is that my analysis usually comes into the Patreon room, and that's my basis of all this data that we have. We always bring information, and we get that, and it's public. And you guys can do the search. You can go back in time, and you can see that the progression of the Iraqi dinar has been a big deal, and it didn't just get started. Some people were a little bit concerned, I think, about the fact that Rabies Security, for instance, comes out and talks about some things today. I think that the ISX Stock Exchange has got some things to say, and some of the things that they talk about is that they had some relationship with the NASDAQ and some other technologies and stuff, but they had that as far back as 2007, and so then they also had it 2014, I think 2017, 2018. There's been a lot of discussion about certain things, but the fact remains is that everything's been based off the fact that Iraq has a project to delete the zeros, and the delete the zeros hasn't happened yet. And so therefore, some of these articles are implying that this has been happening all this time, but I don't think that's necessarily the whole case. I don't think that's true. I think that Iraq does not have an international acceptable tradable currency just yet. And the reason why you don't see stocks quoted on the NASDAQ is because the valuations are just way too low for them to have the institutional investors able to make a market for those. I think that what we saw and people have been discussing is that these platforms for the semiconductor situation has some bearing, and significantly. And why do I believe that? Is because I think that if you look at some of the news that I saw, that I witnessed, and I put it together in one of my last videos ago, a few, I show that there's specific components, and what we have, or correlation is to artificial intelligence, and also you got to remember markets are human. They're human nature, okay? And that's, I mean, if you go back as far as the Japanese, they have Japanese candlesticks, those things that when you make stock charts and you use their methodology, it's 1,000 years old, or 500 years, or 2,000 years old. I'm not 100% sure, but they designed this stuff to sell rice. And they were able to use and very collectively use specific patterns in charts to get market sentiment. And in that market sentiment comes from emotions from the marketplace. And that's one thing that AI can't get, is that it's the emotions. So they probably would have to take some sort of communication, okay, media, or communication, right, to be able to teach people or get that feeling of what has been going on. And so I think they have a blend for that. And so if you go in and look at some of the patterns in stock charts, when you look at those stock charts, and I say stock charts loosely because it can be currencies, it can be electronic traded funds, it can be lots of different things. They can be paired analysis because they have different currencies. They could have different stock companies. They could have certain ETFs. They can have them together and pair them together and take a basis in some shape or form to what those bases mean and what they look like. And when you look at them It's like now, if you guys look at a gold chart, for instance, you're going to go back 30 years. I would highly suggest every single dinar holder, every single dong holder, or anybody that's doing this investment, have a little understanding and look at the patterns and the similarities that you're going to go, wow, this is really interesting. Because of the nature of the circumstances. Gold's an asset, silver's an asset. And look at the stock charts and kind of pair them possibly with the USD/IQD on the Forex Live. And if you do that, you're going to go, wow, well, that's a semiconductor situation. What is a semiconductor business? Well, it's a techie situation. And it's a techie business. I'm being loose, you guys. But the bottom line is that if you take a look at it, you're going to see some patterns and you're going to go, wow, that's really interesting. Because why? What's driving AI? What semiconductors are a big component? Okay, there you go. Did they use that as a model? I would say they probably have. I'm not saying that they did 100%, but I would suggest that they did, because you can take all kinds of currency models, currencies that have that model with the semiconductor situation. You can see how it works. That's what I've seen in my research, and whether or not it's true, we're going to find out. But the fun part about it is that you can't deny patterns. They really do show up at specific times, and usually it's market driven. Markets need emotion, and that's where the AI comes in. So they can take media, feed, news, etc., circumstances, timing, and it can program that and say, well, this is the best analysis that we can because so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. And this is kind of a loose thing, but the bottom line is it's really shows me that these guys have figured out a pattern to be able to do a market analysis, make a market makers, right? Big entities, JPMorgan Chase, for instance, totally an AI. Okay, so that's where I come from. And then why is Raby Securities important? This is Raby Securities. They have a report out. I think you guys should take a look at it. We have it. The reason why it's important is because Iraq's been opening, well, first off, the banks in Iraq have been on gangbusters in their stock market. The valuations that they're going to need to get to the NASDAQ, for instance, or even higher, is going to be more than triple zeros, for instance, for their currency. It's going to be more than a couple of dollars for their bank stocks, for instance. It's going to be more than probably 5. Or it's going to be some number that's big. I'm not saying that dinar currency is going to be at those levels, but institutional investors have rules. They have they can't invest in things that are just so below those pricings, if you will. Okay, you don't see major banks trading in 000 stocks. You just don't see it. Institutional investors will not. It's in their bylaws. So, not to give you all that kind of an education, because not everybody knows it, but probably a lot of people out there. I'm assuming I know. I think I know that there's a lot of people out there that know far more about it than I do. But the cool part is that what basic analysis I have on it is that. It's not going to happen. You're not going to go on the NASDAQ. So when you go back to 2003 or 2007 and say, well, hey, this NASDAQ technology's been out there. Yeah, I hear you. We all know that. 2014, it's been out there. Sure. Did they go on International Women's Day that one day and showcased in the New York Stock Exchange downtown? Did they not showcase that? They sure did. We all thought that that's what they were getting ready to do, is what? Drop the 3 zeros, create value, raise the valuation of all those stocks so that they could trade on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, et cetera, right? But they didn't. Okay, so be careful, because today they're going to talk about doing it globally, and what has changed since 2007, 2014, 2016, 2018. Well, 2016, 2017 is just the beginning of the artificial intelligence study. And then if you'll notice that this model, if you will, is probably going to be really close to around 2016 that got started. So they've had time to find information, and they've had time to take public media. They've had time to analyze that and compare it to USD, United States, IQD, Semiconductor, Canada. You guys look it up. You're going to find that it's not representing specifically the IQD. But when you come into what I just told you, and for the last couple of videos, is that it is a relationship. It's oriented around that. So check out this article about Rabies, because Rabies is a platform for buying and selling stocks, bank stocks. Okay, so a lot of people will probably tell you the truth. And if you go back in time, a long time ago, Iraq banks were very valuable, and they're going to probably come back. And here, this wording here, it says, "What next after a gangbuster year?" A gangbuster year. Well, if you look at this chart, if you can see that, it's on steroids. All of them are. They're all moved up. Okay, that's an anticipatory. Well, wait, that's just one. How about this one? These two, I should say. These two charts, all what they're talking about is that the trajectory is up, and so it's an anticipation of future significance. I mean, they're going to be probably even better than what they show already, because basically what happens when you get to a point of no return, meaning that you're committed to do something, people know it. So in this article, basically, it just basically is going to tell you about that Iraq's bank accounts have increased, their bank cards have increased, their e-wallets have increased, their deposits have increased, the ATM machines have increased, the monthly IQD transactions have increased with their e-wallets, their cards, all of those things. And what do they end up saying? The banks end with a year of a bang. So they're obviously happy about it. They're talking about the investment thesis for the banking sector in this report. They're talking about the US dollar to equity index on the RSI-SX-USD index. Why? Well, this is Rabies Securities. Why are they talking about it? They're letting people know that things are ready to happen. And that is as bullish as you can get, because they're a facility that you and I, as investors in the Iraqi dinar, probably can figure out a way to talk to somebody, a wealth management side of things, not retail. Anybody that's talking to retail about what we're talking about right now is probably making a big mistake, and it's going to be very disappointing. But trust me on this one. I think, believe it or not, the big boys, they know, because why? I told you guys specifically that who was involved in this. JP Morgan, right? Go to their site, look at what they have to say. They have a shareholders site, and you're going to find that, hey, AI has been critical, right? But AI has been critical. Why? Because they're going to be using it into the future. They are promoting having a good amount of money. I won't tell you the number that I've heard, but it's actually it's wild, big. What percentage? I think something people are probably going to be comfortable with is if somebody is advising you to put 5% into something. That's probably a relatively stable position. But if you get significantly more than that, 4 or 5 times than that, you got to go, what? Are you going to find a new advisor? I think Petra was laughing, because that's what he said. He goes, I think I'd find a new advisor. Yeah, but keep it in mind, you guys. Good report, patreon.com/MM and crew. We'll see you there. Here's an article that I've moved forward a little bit. It says the failure of Iraq Stock Exchange to link globally, and an expert explains the reasons to the news agency. It says this can only be done by adopting an integrated approach from the market itself in order to attract new investors. So they had to do something, as I was implying, a model, right? Integrated approach. Those are the buzzwords that are in this word. That's what I catch my eye. Integrated approach. So they had to do that. And why did they do that? They wanted to be able to make a market. So that market is what? Attract new investors to the local stock exchange. That's what market makers do. Okay? JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, everybody knows about market makers. Okay? They use them every single day. And so Iraq's going to be no different. See, look, Vietnam, Indonesia, Iraq, a lot of countries were undervalued. We're not even going to talk about politics. I'm not doing that. But there was some laws that were done in 2020, April 6th, I think the date is, that specifically outlines challenging countries, international law that happened in our life that goes towards this progression. And they're meaningful because they're anti-money laundering, they're anti-suppression of currencies, level playing field. Where have you heard that before, right? I think you guys know what I'm talking about. 2020, April. Okay. They go on to say the Iraqi Stock Exchange represents one of the most important factors in supporting and encouraging the monetary policies pursued by the Central Bank of Iraq. In addition, listen, did you catch that? Monetary policies pursued by the central bank. So what I'm saying is it's like not fluff. They're talking about now it's being pursued by the central bank. Okay, it didn't happen in 23, 24, 25, or 2003, 4, 5, etc., 18, 17, all those different numbers with them having the technology. They've had the technology, but they haven't done it yet. Well, guess what they have now? They have AI now. They have transparency. They have blockchain. They had to change things. It's fascinating. In addition to its outstanding ability to support federal governments, local administrations, and providing jobs for the private sector through leadership and encouraging investment opportunities in the private sector and companies. So that's reality, you guys. That's everybody should have an idea that what I'm talking about is there's going to be more here. A reality. That's what I meant. They are going to have a reality check. Iraq decides to introduce artificial intelligence in this field. Article in our thing today, it says Prime Minister's advisor Mohammed Shia al-Sudani announced, actually it was yesterday, the 4th of July, the introduction of artificial intelligence into school curricula. Well, what are they talking about with the World Bank, even JP Morgan, everybody? It's education. They're going to re-educate and help educate other people to do what they're talking about. It's going to be about the youth. They're going to be the backbone of Iraq's artificial intelligence. Everybody's using it, even in fraud cases. They're using it in finance. They're using it in lots of different things. Whether we like it or not, the cogs of progress are underway. And basically, what is this called? It's called the Path to the Global Labor Market at the Davos conference. Remember that? That was one of the articles that I was trying to find the other day before my last video. I knew that there was a component of Davos, JP Morgan, and Iraq, and here Al-Sudani just gave me the boom, there it was. However, it's okay. We have it in Patreon. It just takes a little bit of searching to find. But in this path of for the global labor market is going to be with who? 60% of the population of Iraq is the youth. Okay? All right. So my family, for instance, has a few young men in the tech field, AI, right? They're dynamic. And they're going to be our future. And so lean on it, learn about it, embrace it if you like or not. I'm not so sure we can do anything about it because progress is progress. I mean, who stopped the railroads, right? Nobody. Anyway, she goes on to continue saying that the establishment of research centers in American University in cooperation with the Center of Engineering of Artificial Intelligence Applications Technologies at the Ministry of Higher Education under the name of, quote, Center for Engineering of Artificial Intelligence Applications Technologies will support the gifted scientific research that will play a major role in building knowledge, economy, and cooperate with the Ministry of Education to introduce artificial intelligence into this curricula while confirming that the office is in the process of attaining the approval of the opinion authority to include the concepts of the fourth industrial revolution in this curricula. The fourth industrial revolution. So what are they talking about? Iraq is going to create another industrial revolution. And what are they going to need at this stage? They're going to need people that are qualified to be able to do the work that's needed to be part of artificial intelligence. That's my view. Okay, so enough of that. It says here, though, just I have some snippets. I won't get into them because I've already been leading on, but remember one thing. The Customs Authority announces the implementation of the Escuda system in 4 centers, including Baghdad Airport, and explains its features. So this was back in April 1st. It says it provides data to the decision maker regarding the economic planning, import and export, control of currency movement, and the exchange of the dollar between Iraq and other countries. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, right? They're involved. World Bank, Global Digital Summit, United States of America, which continues on March 7th. So this was past tense, but hey, it's still important. Why is it important? Well, the World Bank is building a component in Washington, D.C. What are they working on? The component is going to allow them to be accelerating the digital transformation. And what's it going to include? Artificial intelligence. Here's JP Morgan, okay? This is annual report 2023 dated April 8th, 2024. Key statement in one of their key points in their to the news to the shareholders. The critical impact of artificial intelligence. You guys think about it. Predictive artificial intelligence, etc., for years to come. All right, so obviously if they're talking about it to the shareholders, giving reasoning, I think you guys should read it. Get to know what you own and realize that this isn't 2016. Remember what happened? What was happening in 2014 and 16? It was ISIS. It was a disaster over there. But guess what? Progress was still going. Those models I was talking about, if you look at the chart, they began in 2016. Anyway, the next thing is that, remember one thing back in March 2, a similar time frame, there was an article that came out, Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization is imminent. Basically, what I want to say here is that Iraq has been and is seeking to join the World Trade Organization. And to this gentleman back then in March, and the matter is at close hand. Okay, close. We all know that means, what? It can be at any time. They basically mention cash flow used to go to other countries with current governments that seek to address by promoting self-sufficiency. Well, Iraq is self-promoting self-sufficiency. And why? Because they have all kinds of assets. They have inputs and outputs. They have so many natural resources that they're going to be able to make things to be able to have excess. They're going to have enough materials, effectively, to help build this road. And we're going to get into some other things, but one of the things that you keep in mind, July 18th, there's a working party on a session of Iraq on the 18th of July. So that's important. The president of Abdul Latif Jamal Rashid praised on Thursday the relationship between the federal government and the Kurdistan region. And what else do they do? Excuse me. The president of the Republic held a bilateral meeting with Masoud Barzani. Okay, they've had meetings, which is not that they have not had these with this gentleman for 6 years, which he was welcome to visit Baghdad and its importance in promoting constructive dialogue between all national forces to consolidate security and stability, expressing his hopes that it will produce results that serve all Iraqis. Okay, so basically he's talking about constitutional items. They're basically talking about resolving issues in accordance with the Constitution. There it is. Okay, I didn't see that yet, but that's a reiteration of what I meant. He says that they praised the positive relationship between the federal government and the Kurdistan region in its development, expressing his hopes to resolve all outstanding issues between Kurdistan and the government. And why is that important? Is because they do have specific things. One of those is going to be related to the financial budget, the legislation of detailed oil and gas law, and the application of Article 140 of the Constitution. So we're talking about that yesterday. Okay, they're talking about those items, Article 140 of the Constitution, oil and gas. You see where we're going with this? The man hasn't been here for 6 years. He's here for a reason. And that's, in and of itself, everybody should be like going, wow, really? This guy's been here It hasn't been here since the RIP 6 years ago. Who's doing it? Al-Sudani is doing it. It says the outlets announced the completion of the first phase of networking by 100%. What? 100%. The IQD system. The authority has made advanced strides in networking ports electronically, pointing to the completion of the first phase of networking. The first phase of networking the ports has been 100% completed, and all border crossings have been connected to the optical cable, and infrastructures have been established with the highest specifications of network devices and servers. Yeah, so by establishing the highest specifications of network devices and servers, all devices are currently linked to the border crossings operations at the port or at the center in the Port Authority. So that's huge. When are they going to do this? It says its application will be available. Its applications will be directly. So in other words, like, what's that mean? Like any day now, directly? It's not soon. So this is to be fair, it's a kind of a new term. But you have to think about all the things that we're talking about. Directly means timing is important. That's my view. The outlet and the operations center were audited with a live broadcast, so they openly, publicly capable of broadcasting it, which leads to the fight against corruption, so they can expose corruption when it arrives or it's found. It relieves the pressure on workers. Workers probably have less pressure getting, they're not going to be involved directly because the communications in the system is keeping them outside of the pressure from, say, for instance, the people creating the act. That is problematic. It says that the outlet operation centers were audited, live broadcast, movement of trucks and goods through their exit. So basically, what do we have? They basically have 100% of networking to their system at this stage. Is an awesome indicator that I don't know, they could probably turn this thing on whenever the Central Bank of Iraq decides, and whoever those powers that be decide to go. And here's Hadi al-Amiri, President Barzani's visit to Baghdad, and that's what he's talking about. Good success and broke the deadlock. Okay, I like that headline. There's more to it. It says Secretary General of Badr Organization. Okay, he's the Hadi al-Amiri, praised the visit of Masoud Barzani. He's the senior president, the older gentleman. The concessions they broke the deadlock. They're basically going on to say that the Foreign Minister Fahud Hussein was there, Minister of Planning Mohammed Tamimi, Minister of Defense Thabit al-Abbasi, Minister of Labor Hamed al-Assadi, Ministry of Construction, Housing Benkin Rakani, and other leading officials. But they go even further. It says Sudani as the head Supreme Judicial Council, Fake Saddam was there, other leaders, political forces, and officials, in addition to who? Ambassadors to Britain, Russia, China, France, and America. All of them were there at the airport to meet Barzani when he arrived. Folks, you got to realize the key players in this are completely ready to get things done. It's a very good sign, and I honestly believe we're watching history in the making. Patience, yeah, we've had them. It's hard, but the fact remains is we're seeing progress like no other. The advisor to the Prime Minister formed a committee to account for evaluate special acquisitions on the path development. Why is this important? You guys look, the formation of committee to inventory and evaluate private expropriations along the development road project. They need to value property for the people, because why? They're going international. They're doing the development road project. They have to pay people for their land. It's kind of like in the United States called eminent domain, right? Where the government comes in and says, look, we're going to try to give you fair market value for that portion of property. So we're going to swipe out about, I don't know, let's call it 10 feet by 5 acres, or it's going to be 2 acres in, 5 acres long, so we can build a freeway, right? That's exactly what they're going to do. If you've got private property and there's private property owners, they're going to get compensated for it, and they're going to have to value that property. Are they going to value that property at $13.10? Or are they going to do it far cheaper by a change in the exchange rate to a significant, very strong exchange rate that we expect to make it even cheaper? I'm pretty sure the government's pretty up to speed that they're not going to do it at 1310. All right, moving forward, Parliamentary Committee says that the oil and gas law is almost complete. Constitution, remember they were talking about constitutional events? Well, oil and gas is constitutional. It says the draft oil and gas law is almost complete with a high percentage that may reach 90%. And there's some objections from the Kurds regarding some points, which are summarized in handing over oil imports and exploited and unexploited natural resources to Baghdad, as Erbil refuses to do so. But at the end, Barzani says his visit will be the beginning of resolving this crisis. The oil law, gas and oil law contributes to exploiting the largest possible amount of undiscovered oil fields and also contribute to achieving self-sufficiency in petroleum derivatives and optimal exploitation of wasted natural resources, probably gas, estimated hundreds of billions of dollars that contribute to diversifying the state's financial resources. So the non-oil, the gas, the revenues at the borders are hooked up 100% to the first phase anyway. So obviously they're totally prepared at this stage. From what I can see, they're on gangbusters. That's what they basically said about the stock market, right? With banks, okay, they have been. Charts show it. Government programs to support digital transformation and artificial intelligence. They reiterate this today. The other stuff was from yesterday. Here again, we have another article. Advisor to the Prime Minister, government programs to support digital transformation and artificial intelligence. What else can you say? Obviously, what I was have been talking about, has legs. It really absolutely does. It says on Friday, today, the government is proceeding with its programs to support digital transformation and artificial intelligence. Okay, so Al-Sudani's, the advisor to the Prime Minister said it, right? He goes on to say that the government program was keen on digital transformation, and one of the trends supporting this matter is the artificial intelligence, and the government has implemented practices and practical steps. These centers will be open to attract the young people who have capabilities in artificial intelligence to support them, in addition to the work of the national team formed by the Prime Minister in cooperation with the National Security Services, to use artificial intelligence as a mechanism of information and program community education at the level of government institutions. So we know, basically, based off all that information, artificial intelligence is going to be a part of Iraq's future. It's going to be part of the global dynamic to probably all countries of the world. And so however it rolls out is one of those things that Iraq's embracing. So let's see how it works for us. You got to remember too, you guys, this blockchain and some of these things about transparency, when it comes to movement of money, movement of commodities, movement of stocks, movement of all these things, the level of transparency is going to be a little bit different than it was in the past. There's a lot of corruption out there. And so there's a lot of people that are blowing back and biting because of, gravy trains. Look at neighboring countries. They're probably chomping at the bit going, oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? Because their models were on stealing. Their models were on counterfeiting. Their models are on differences. And so we're going to have to see how it turns out. But I think it's positive because those folks out there in the world that want prosperity and want freedom of capital movement are going to get that. But there's going to be, accountability. So I think that it's probably going to be some sort of a good component. Barzani brings the new president closer to the parliament's hammer. I'm not sure why they mean the hammer other than a decision. A lot of times when you put the hammer down, done, right? Isn't that what they do with the gavel in a court case? They hammer down, done. I think that's what Barzani meant by this. After exceptional meetings, Masoud Barzani brings the new president closer to the parliament's hammer. Masoud Barzani to the Capitol basically says that a qualitative shift and contributing factor to deciding the choice of the Speaker of the Iraqi Parliament. So what I get from it, I've said this in the past, is that they haven't placed this presidency yet. I think they will. I think they're going to use it as an optic to have it done. And we've talked about it before. And I think that what we're seeing, and I think there's an agreement, at least in our room, I believe in my sources, not just private, but and public, as we're seeing, that they're probably going to have to do this. Or they're going to do it. I think that's where they're at. Barzani is the guy that has such global influence. He's a tribal man too. He has relationships with people for many, many years. He's been around for a long, long time. He's been around since the 80s or even earlier. So he's got decades of experience. And after 6 years of a hiatus, if you will, or just stand downish, if you guys remember back in 2018, we have the data, and I've showed it many times, even in the videos, that the Central Bank of Iraq purchased new currency. They publicly talked about how much money they spent on their website, and we've got it printed. Rest in peace, Day Trader. He and I went over this many times, and that data is for real. Even our friend from past is Delta. We had these conversations. We know that they did that. And so this article is basically telling you that even as back to that date, that time frame, 2018, some of these things haven't happened yet, but that doesn't mean they won't happen in the future or happen shortly. They just didn't happen at those particular times. And this article basically kind of gives me that impression that they're moving forward, the qualitative shift. It says that they met with senior political leaders and government officials. He's confirming his statements made during the visit that he found good intentions from the political parties to resolve differences that have existed for years between Kurdistan and the federal government. The Sunni political forces was held in the office of the head of the Sovereignty Alliance and in Baghdad with the aim of reaching solutions, resolving the crisis with the Speaker of the Parliament, and coming up with an agreement that supports the nomination of one person representing all the Sunni parties. And the visit of this leader, also great importance, carried international measures in the framework. And in what it doesn't mean, it just kind of melted the ice between Baghdad and Erbil after a 6-year rift. Good sign. It also made a positive impact in deciding the parliamentary presidency. So he's had that effect on everybody. One candidate for the parliament, which is being advanced, and that progress is underway upon everyone to resolve this impasse. And so they're really pretty much focusing in on it. And basically what else is there? The majority's right to the presidency of the parliament said to be, it contains high diplomacy of and for the legitimacy for the Sunnis' representation. When it says decisions should be made within days, I think they have a date set for the 10th. What is it going to do? Barzani's prominent national figure, we all know that. It establishes a roadmap for addressing the files between the federal government and the Kurdistan region. He points out that Barzani has a strong, solid relations with major Iraqi, and international financial national figures on the regional and global levels, and his visit did not exclude anyone, but on the contrary, it included everyone from both the Sunni and the Shiite components. Okay, so that is huge to me. Have they made crossroads? Of course they did. His recent visit, with Neshirvan Barzani and the Prime Minister, along with Masroor Barzani, as well as the successes achieved by the delegations in the issues of finance. I already mentioned that the issue of border crossings, that's big. What's going on with the borders? We talked about it. 100% complete in the first phase. All paved the way for President Barzani, which is this gentleman who hadn't been there for 6 years. And that is a great interest in intensive meetings are evidence of others' appreciation for the position of Massoud Barzani. You guys, don't let this fall on deaf ears, because we're watching history in the making. And last thing I'm going to say on this activating agreements and unifying visions, Barzani's visit came with the aim of activating agreements and unifying visions. The visit of the president of Kurdistan, Masoud Barzani, came with the aim of activating agreements, enhancing cooperation, unifying visions between the parties to the political process. Pretty sure this is where we're headed, you guys. They're getting down to that wire of doing it. The visit of the president, it's his first in 6 years, we know that. Activating agreements, enhancing cooperation, unifying those visions, da-da-da-da-da. He's a national figure. It's very important. Roadmap. Okay, you guys get the picture, right? I don't need to go over it all. But hey, I'll tell you, if you haven't, focused in on some of this stuff, I'm not just being, aloof on some of this stuff. We haven't seen this before. Nobody has. So again, if you're paying attention, I think you guys should be really kind of pumped and excited that things are happening. I don't know. The presidency thing next week is huge. So let's see what happens. What else is going on? They've got a special day for the Republic on next Sunday. They also have a situation where they're going to have a working party meeting with Iraq's accession to the WTO on the 18th. But we've already showed you that they talked about there's an imminent view that that's going to happen. But if you realize that everything that's related to many things, Siam, oil going out, the salaries being paid, all of these little things, the expropriations along with the development road project, okay, paying for land, okay, they're not going to go do that and do valuation processes on such an extent all the way across the country for private land ownership without value in the country, right? They're going to have to value the land. They're going to have to give fair market value effectively to the citizens. Expropriation is what I was looking for, and that's what they're going to do. So even that, you guys, they're not going to do it at 1310. What it means to me is that when they adjust their exchange rate, which they're obviously showing that they're going to talk about, I should say, is that they're going to make it a lot cheaper. That's just the way it works. It's going to be far cheaper, less dinar, right? Because the value is going to be significantly more. It's amazing. I think everybody just should know that what these guys have done, the architects to do this, are just off the charts. So thank you, everybody. Hey, hit that like button, subscribe, and please, everybody, all that you help do so much for us with Zelle, Venmo, and PayPal. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.